Hi, a very good morning to all. Welcome each everyone to this webinar section. Let's start this section with a beautiful prayer. I would like to invite Sumida ma'am. Sumida ma'am, please.
Yes, please close your eyes. God bless me, God bless me always. I little baby, please protect me. You are my papa, you are my mama, you are my world as well. Let me always, hug me always, with your invisible hands. I can see you in May rainfall. I can see you in wind. I can't touch you, but I feel you always in my life. God bless me, God bless me always. Thank you.
Wow. Super.
Wow,
Thank you,
super,
Sumida.
Very nice, ma'am. Super, super.
Thank you so much, Sumida ma'am. It's very wonderful prayer. And next, I would like to invite Deshma ma'am for welcome speech. Deshma ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good morning to one and all. It gives me an immense pleasure to welcome you all to this live webinar session. First of all, I'd like to welcome our chief guest, Mrs Dhanasree, experienced talent and a student of Ncdc. I welcome you, ma'am, to share your knowledge on phonetics. Welcome, ma'am. Next, I'd like to welcome Thank you, ma'am. Next, I'd like to welcome our senior evaluator of Ncdc, Ms. Bindu Saraswati, ma'am, for this live webinar session. Welcome you, ma'am. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Ms. Assamese, ma'am, faculty of Ncdc 53rd online batch. Welcome you, ma'am. I'd like to welcome Ms. Bindu Jacob, ma'am, faculty of Ncdc of 59th online batch. Welcome, Bindu Jacob, ma'am. Last not least, I would like to welcome all my dear teachers to our live webinar session of phonetics. Welcome everyone and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Wow, super, ma'am. Very nice. Super.
Thank you, Reshma ma'am. You give a wonderful welcome speech. And now, Dhanasree ma'am will take the class about the phonetics. And welcome, Dhanasree ma'am.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me such a warm welcome and for putting your faith in the fact that I can take this class. So before I start off, how many of you are aware of phonetics or what phonics are? Or has anyone studied about this when they were in college or school?
We have just got a class, ma'am, not that much on deep, but English grammar, ma'am, have told what is phonetics, what is a sound, how we can do that sound.
Okay. Has anyone ever deeply looked into a dictionary? When you are looking up for meanings of certain word, you would see the word there, and then right next to it, you would see a strange symbol language, which kind of resembles English, but looks like some other language.
Yeah, some Chinese scripts like.
Yes. So what Jira ma'am referred to as Chinese, what looks like Chinese.
Something very curious, right? We can't. And some slash will be there in between.
Slash
right?
will be there, exactly. So that is basically what phonetics is. Phonetics is, in simply put, phonetics is the way in which you learn to pronounce English words, right? Because if you notice one thing about English, and if you're comparing English with different language, for language that we are very familiar with, for example, Malayalam or Hindi or Tamil, what's the biggest difference? Quickly.
Tone, the accent, the tone that comes like.
The Malayalam
voice modeling.
look like same ma. It's same is reading ma. Malayalam.
Exactly. Languages like Malayalam, Hindi, and Tamil are easy because what we write is how we say it. There is no complication there. So if we were to go to your children and if you tell them, hey, this is ma, and this is la. This is ma, and this is la. You teach them for like 1 or 2 days this, and then you put those 2 words together and you ask them, what is this? How would they reply? They can identify ma, and they can identify the next one, and they can say this is mala, right? Similarly with Hindi, if you teach them, each and everything is said or pronounced the way that it is called. Basically, the name of each figure in the language Hindi and Malayalam is pronounced and said the way that it is written, right? Is this the same with English?
No, never.
No.
Never. We all
No,
know we all know the alphabet sound. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yes, it is
Yeah.
ingrained into our brain. So do you pronounce B as B? When we
no,
do we pronounce X as X?
No. Yesterday,
No.
my child told me, ma'am, so this is cake. But this initial letter
Shabira ma'am,
is
your
C.
connection is poor. You can off the video and talk.
Okay.
Yeah, please,
Yesterday, my youngest child told me, this audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes, you're audible.
Yeah. Mom, this is cake. The pronunciation is cake, but the initial letter is C. What have this is not K? This is initial letter C.
Hmm. So see that Shabira ma'am is right. This is the kind of questions children are going to ask because the name of the alphabets is different from the way it is actually said or pronounced. Wherein lies the confusion with the language English and its alphabets. So today in this webinar, there are a few points which I'd like to cover so that, you know, I'm not going to tell you how to teach the children when you go there. Rather, this webinar is going to give you a sort of awareness and information so that you can take this information for yourself and use it to teach the children in your own way. Because most of the schools will have or will train you on how to teach the children phonics according to the books they have as part of their curriculum. So it'll be very different from school to school. The way you teach them phonics will be very dependent upon the books and the syllabus that they have. So today is about creating awareness and giving you information so that you are empowered enough to teach the children, right? So that you have some sort of a stepping stone or a springboard to use as a base. So we will cover with what are phonics. So we have already covered with what are phonics. Alphabets are names and the sounds that they make are phonics. And that's how we're going to teach the children. We are not going to teach the children phonetics. We're not going to teach them that symbols that we see in the dictionary, because for them, it'll be like learning another new language and it's complicated. So we are just going to teach them the sounds that the alphabets make so that reading will be easier for them. We'll go through why we need to teach children, English or to read via phonics. Then we will just go through the alphabet names and the different sounds that the alphabets make in the most basic sense. Because if we are going to delve deep into it, it's going to be a 2 or 3 day class. It's very vast. So I'll give you just a base of how the alphabets are divided and the different basic phonic sounds that you need to be aware when you're dealing with young children like LKG, UKG, children. And we'll just end with 1 or 2 methods in which we can slowly start introducing phonics to children of young classes. Okay, so that we have this is how I'm going to divide today's webinar. All right, so we have finished with the first part. What is phonics? I think everyone has understood what phonics is. Don't worry, we are not going to learn the symbols. Okay, so why do we need to teach children to read through phonics? Go back into your childhood. Think about how you learned to read or how you understood what.
we use spelling to tell the words in our childhood, but nowadays they are by seeing the words and the sound, they are reading it, right?
Yeah. So I'm just going to stand because sitting is reading. Okay. So Jina ma'am is correct. How did you? Can anyone? Does anyone remember how we learned how to read, or how we learned how to say the words?
A for apple. This is B for
Yeah.
bird.
Yeah. So
B for
basically, Shabira ma'am is correct. It was sort of like memorize it. You had to memorize it. There was no logic applied there. So we would come home and be like A-P-P-L-E apple, A-P-P-L-E apple, A-P-P-L-E apple, A-N-T,
Yeah.
B-A-L-L ball, B-A-L-L ball. Did it make sense to us? No. But we had to memorize. But if we imagine if we had to memorize, imagine having to memorize the entire dictionary. How are we ever going to learn? How will we fall in love with reading? It's impossible to get children to fall in love with reading when they have to come home and memorize lots and lots of words. So it's going to be hard if you're going to keep applying the same rule to children even today. It'll take them a long time to learn how to read. So the reason for teaching children how to learn to read by using phonics is so that they will learn the relationship between the sound and the spelling, right? There's a logic that is applied there. Then they need not memorize like how we used to do. It was hard. It was hard for me at least. Memorizing words were not easy. So we want to teach children how to read by using phonics so that they do not have to memorize. And also they should be able to differentiate between the different sounds that the alphabets makes when they are being used in different words and different scenarios. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'll just give you a small understanding as to why the English language is very different from Malayalam or Hindi. So my understanding is English language has gone through a lot of evolution. Okay, it changes according to the time and the culture that it is a part of. So English has derived a lot of words from other languages. Latin, Roman languages. It has even taken words from Hindi. When the British came into India, of course, they took a lot of words from Hindi and, they applied it as to how it suited them. So English is a sort of evolutionary language which keeps changing according to time. And also in the earlier days, it was spoken in a certain way. Things were spelt in a certain way. So nowadays, when you say night, not the night when the sun goes down, but the night with a K, they were not silent in the yesteryears, long time ago. But as we evolved the language, the K started becoming silent to suit our needs. So because of the way it evolves according to time, English has gone through several changes and it will keep going through several changes, which is why it is very necessary that we make a tool to keep understanding the way to read it and how to say it out. So that way phonics will become very useful to not just children, but for adults like us also. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we'll slowly move on to the alphabets, right? How many alphabets do we have in English?
26.
26. Okay. And how are they divided?
Vowels and
Five, 21 consonants.
Excellent. Yeah. So we have vowels and we have consonants. So we have 5 vowels and 21 consonants. So that would mean we should essentially have 26, 27, maybe 30 sounds, right?
Yes.
Maximum 30 phonics. No, that's not true. However, we have 42 to 44 phonic sounds. Okay, even though the alphabet is only 26 alphabets, we have 42, 44 phonic sounds, depending upon which path we are following for phonics. And now comes the even funnier part. These 44 phonic sounds can be written in over 150 ways. Again, this is just for information. You need not think too deeply about it. I'm just providing you with information. Okay, so that's why, again, this is why phonics will be a great tool to help you identify the sounds of different words that you come across on your day-to-day lives. Okay, so let me move on to alphabets and the sounds they make. Okay, hope everyone can see this. I don't have a board. I'm doing what my kids do. Okay. So over here, I have written the consonants. I don't know if you can see the colors.
Yes.
It's absolutely sad. Okay. So I have divided it into vowels and consonants. Okay. For a second, let's forget the consonants are here. Let's just look at the vowels. Okay. All right. A, E, I, O, and U. Right? Simple
Yes.
enough. Okay. So the vowels are pronounced again differently. They are basically tools that you use to connect consonants, and they come peppered in between words. So vowels can also be pronounced in two different ways. So in a very basic way, we call them short vowel sounds. Short vowel sounds. And then there are the long vowel sounds. Long vowel sounds is basically how we call the alphabet by their names. A, E, I, O, U. Those are the long vowel sounds. Simple enough.
Yeah.
Like U as in uniform. Over there, U has the sound U itself. Okay? Things like that. E would have the sound elementary. In elementary, E has the sound E itself. So those are the long vowel sounds. So long vowel sounds we have covered. Simple, exactly as how their name is, that's how they're pronounced. Long vowel sounds. Now let's come to short vowel sounds. Okay. Anyone want to guess how what the short vowel sound of A would be?
A.
A.
Yeah.
A.
Not A, not A, not A. Apple. And.
Please spot Dhanasree, ma'am. Let's see.
Okay. So the pronunciation over there would be A.
A.
Short vowel sound for E would be let's say egg. Egg.
Egg.
Elephant. Elephant.
Elephant.
For I.
E.
E.
E. Yes.
E.
Ink. Think of the word ink.
Ink.
Ink. When you're thinking of the short vowel sound for I.
Right.
This one.
O.
Not O.
O.
Orange. Orange.
O.
And this one.
Umbrella. Umbrella. Umbrella.
Yes. Okay. So hard to remember. Almost everything sounds the same, right? So I'm going to make this simple. This is a song that I heard my son learn when he was learning short vowel sound, and it is stuck to my brain. It is stuck in my son's brain. It is stuck in my brain. So now I'm going to gift you by making sure this song stays stuck in your brain also. Do you know this tune? Na 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 na. Na 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 na. We are going to use that part to remember this. So it would go E O E O E O. These are the short vowel sounds. If you have any doubt, think of apple. E O E O E O. These are the short vowel sounds. Okay, so that is clear. E O. So just you can do it yourself. You can do it out loud. Just repeat this music in your head with this pronunciation couple of times. If you realize sometimes if you hear a tune, when you hear a tune, even sometimes if you don't know the language or you don't understand the meaning of the language, you will remember that song and sing the words irrespective of the meanings, right? So try to apply that even with your learning and when you're teaching children, because music has a way to transcend language and every barrier, such as age. So using music to remember things like the pronunciation and the enunciation of the words is a good tool to use for yourself and for your class. So you can use the same thing for your children. Just fill this initial part with some words that you like, and then say E, I, O, A, E, I, O, A, E, I, O, A. These are the short vowel sounds. These are the short vowel sounds.
Yes,
Okay, so that's short vowels.
That A U sound once more.
Yeah, umbrella, umbrella, umbrella. Okay, so that's the vowel part. Now let's move on to consonants, which will be comparatively easier, right? Because you don't have to be like, is it is it is it no, it's slightly easier. All right. So what sound do you think B, RB makes? It's not duh. That's the one mistake we make when we think of phonics. There is no duh. When you say duh, that would essentially mean duh. That is duh. This is actually but air should come once you're done with the alphabet. It shouldn't be like duh. You don't feel an air. It should be duh, duh. So this would be b, not b, 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 b. Now what is this?
Not air.
Only the air should come.
Sound is this. But think about this. When you combine fish, it happens by itself because your mouth and your tongue are working together to make the sound. It's not f. If it was f, it would be f-ish, fish, fish, not fish. So, ish.
Only the air will come, right?
Only the air will come.
Okay, okay.
And one thing, look at the mouth. See how your mouth is. And how was it for alphabet D? It was
Only the tip is touching, right? Only
Yeah.
the tip.
Yeah. So you can basically divide consonants into two ways. Some words are bouncy, like b, k, d. And some words are stretchy, like like that. So you have stretchy words and bouncy words. Okay. What about this one?
G.
G. But G is again a tricky one, a tricky consonant. Because in giraffe, it
Go.
has the pronunciation
G.
J, right? Gorilla.
Why is it coming like J in that? It is something starting or like that?
There is no particular way. Basically, when you look at English language, you have to look at the etymology, like from where, which language did they take the words from? Where did the pronunciation come from? Did they originally have a giraffe? So if you look where English language would have probably originated somewhere in Britain. Do they have giraffes there? They don't. They would have probably seen a giraffe when they invaded
Some other place? Yes.
Yeah. So they would have probably had a name for giraffes in the local language. So something and all happened, like Chinese
Like
whisper.
something related to their species name is like that.
Exactly, or something like that. Or they must have taken the etymology from their species name, which is again of Latin origin. So such.
That's right.
So there is no, if we are trying to look at the reasoning for this pronunciation and why it is said in a certain way, that will lead us into a rabbit hole, a never-ending rabbit hole. So we just learn as we go along.
Yes.
So this is
Again, the sound air is there, right?
Yes, air. And this is again a bit harder than point, point. Kettle, kettle, kettle.
What, can you differentiate the same by saying the phonics together?
There is
Like-
no clear differentiation. You can think of this as a slightly softer way, like coin. There's no coin, kettle.
Okay, a power will be there, right?
Yeah, a little bit of power will be there. Again, it differs from words to words. But for the purpose of teaching children, we sort of group these two in a similar sound itself. There. Not L or L or M or N. It's L. Then queen,
Actually, excuse me, ma'am. Dhanasree,
Yes.
ma'am. At this, that the sounds qua, not qu.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So, I'm back. This would be
Please, others mute, please. Others, please mute.
Now, this is interesting. This and this, essentially the same, right? Okay. So for me, I was wondering, like, what do you do with this? So I started saying words with these two, and I noticed a difference. Let's take a word that we all know, van. Van. See how my mouth is doing the beginning? Van. Now, water.
Water.
Water, not water. I don't say
Water.
I say water. Van. So this would be B. And this would be slightly softer B.
So that comes in bouncing session and this comes in that stretching one, like that?
Both are basically what we would say like a bouncy words itself.
Okay.
But the way you purse your lips.
Before B, W, W.
A W would be work.
Okay.
Water.
Van.
Okay.
Like when you talk, obviously you wouldn't talk like this. Like if I was having a conversation with Gmol ma'am or Jina ma'am, I wouldn't like think so much about it, whether I'm saying what or whether I'm saying what. No, I wouldn't think like that. It'll just come out in a flow. But when we are trying to teach children, they will look at our mouth, the actions that we use, and the words that we are saying. So it's just for that purpose. You don't need to be concerned when you're actually communicating, because basically you just want to get your thoughts across to the other person. So you don't need to think, oh, am I saying van with a w or am I saying it with a w? No, please don't think too deeply. This is just, like I told you, these are just tools to empower yourself so that when you're teaching children, you'll have some understanding, just basic understanding. And this X has gone through several evolutions. So basically the pronunciation will be different depending upon which phonic, which school of phonic teaching that you are following. There are multiple ways in which people teach phonics and learn about phonics for children. So it can be, for example, box.
Yes. Nowadays, I can see the change in the kids' book. I think we studied X-ray, Xerox, something. But nowadays
but
it's
X-ray is written with a slash after the X. So the actual name of the alphabet itself is being said there, X-ray. Right? Or xylophone is a good example. Xylophone. But the pronunciation is harder than when we say box, xylophones. Slight differences. But for the purpose of teaching children, it can just be X. This one. If it comes in the beginning, it's U. So Y is a sort of like a prodigal son. This person does not know if he should stay here or if they should go to the vowel place. Because sometimes it's treated as a vowel sound. You will see in some videos, they'll be like A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y.
Yeah.
Sometimes Y will be there.
Why?
This is either Y or E. It makes the sound E too, like boxy, tasty, right? And very different from this is
Z.
Z. Z or Z?
Zoom.
Zoom. Z. Think of
Again, one more
nice
question
one.
regarding Z. Nowadays, we studied it's like Z in alphabet.
Z.
Nowadays, it has changed to Z.
Z. Yeah.
Z.
Yeah, Z.
What is the correct?
I think both we can use.
We can use both. It's actually irrelevant because it's the name of the alphabet. It has nothing to do with phonics. Right? So depending on which school is teaching or which school came up with the name of the alphabet, etc., it would change. So when we were younger, even I learned it as Z. But as I grew older, suddenly the pronunciation was not Z. It was Z. And like I said, it changes from school to
They
sometimes.
change with Y and C. Now I like that.
Y and Z. Now
Yeah,
I say ABC.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So yeah, that's that. So those are the vowel sounds and the consonant sounds in the most basic skeletal format without overly complicating things. Now, if I wanted to complicate things and ruin your sleep, I would divide it like this, right? Suddenly, there are a lot more characters present here. So these are 42 sounds, phonic sounds.
Ma'am, 1 second, Dhanasree ma'am. You can place the camera a little bit towards the left side, to your right.
Yeah.
Better?
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
it's better because now we can see it clear. Thank you, ma'am.
So don't by heart this. This is basically just for information. It is one of the many examples that are there online as to how you can divide the different sounds and how many examples there are of sounds that are out there. So like I told you, even though we have only 26 alphabets, we have 42 to 44 phonic sounds that the children will eventually have to learn to read and write. Okay. So 42, how would we divide it? We can divide it like this. Do you know why we divide it in this way?
It's because maximum number of two-letter words we can frame with the first row alphabets.
Yes, that's right. And there's one more thing. None of these makes the same sound as the other.
Yeah.
Room for less confusion, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this is just, like I told you, this is just one of the ways. Like ma'am told over there, when we are teaching children these phonic sounds, it's better to teach them in such a way that the combination of the 3, 4, or 5 phonic sounds that you plan to teach can help them make words or sounds that they're most familiar with. Okay, so over here we have s, act, it. Okay, none of which makes the same sound as each other, and so on and so forth. So till here, it's all single ones. Now from here onwards, we have something that's, something that's referred to as digraphs, which means 2 words are coming together to make one sound.
Okay, just like shirt, like that.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the name? That is what you call the name as?
Digraphs. There are people sometimes, I think they call it diphthongs or diphthongs also. There are different words, but I don't think we need to learn deeply about it right now. This is just for basic information. Like, you should never go into teaching a child thinking that this is all I need to teach them, or the consonant sounds or the vowel sounds are all I need to teach them. There are further sounds also. Okay, so this and z, like
The thing we mainly used in ing, right?
Yeah. So the importance of learning all this is so that you understand. For example, you have to teach the kid the word. How many sounds are there in this?
Three sounds.
Three.
Three sounds, ma'am.
Three.
This is one.
Yes.
These are alone.
Yeah.
King.
King. Yeah.
And similarly,
Loud.
Three.
OU stands
Three. When you was red
Love.
as together.
this would be
OU
together.
together. Yeah.
So there are three sounds here.
La. Can you pronounce it properly? La.
L, 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 ow, ow, ow,
D.
loud,
Loud.
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 Loud. Okay.
L. D. Loud.
So again, just examples. Then there's ch, sh.
Again, the th will change its sound, right? To
Yeah, like a slightly harder pronunciation of th is also there.
that is also depending upon some words, right?
Yeah,
Or some
yeah.
any role is there.
No particular rule. So I'll come to that after this.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, like I said, this is not something you need to worry about right now. You don't have to by heart this. It's just for you to understand that, the words is not divided according to we don't teach the children to read the words according to the alphabets. We are teaching them according to the sounds. So irrespective of how many letters are there, we are only going to teach them to read by dividing it according to sounds. So this is something that you just need to remember when you're teaching them that. Now, Jina ma'am asked a very good question. Is there a particular rule? Sorry, is there a particular rule when you're reading this? Okay, and now I'm just going to show you a word.
Pacific Ocean.
Pacific Ocean.
Pacific Ocean.
What's the problem with this word?
Pacific Ocean.
K changed to C, and it is K.
Pacific Ocean.
Pacific Ocean is a word where there are three C's and none of it is pronounced the same way. So to answer your question, there are no rules.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
There are no rules. How do we learn? How do we learn? How do we keep in mind how to pronounce this? Which then gives you the answer that the only way you can learn how to pronounce each word is by hearing the words repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. So so for example, let's say I'm seeing Pacific Ocean in the book for the first time without having a teacher or a parent ever say the word to me. I would read it completely differently. I'd be like, Pacific Ocean. Right? Because I've not heard the word before. Nobody has spoken to me, or I've never had a conversation about the Pacific Ocean. But I have heard the word Pacific Ocean. I know about it. And finally, I'm seeing it written in front of me in a book. And I already know, oh, from the entire thing that I'm reading, I know that what is written here is probably Pacific Ocean. The human brain is so remarkable in such a way that it can form that connection by itself. Which brings me to the next lesson. How do you teach children this in the classroom, right?
Yes.
Now, I'm probably sure everyone is like, oh my God, I don't want to teach kids phonics. I'll probably go directly to 2nd or 3rd standard and teach them science. Yeah. So don't worry. Children pick up things really fast. And for when you're beginning with the children, you don't have to teach them long words. You start with words that are very short and words which they know, right? So how do you teach them? The first thing that you do is develop phonemic awareness, which means you let the child know about the existence of these words and the sounds that are there. So if I were to be in a classroom, I'll come one day. Kids, come around me. Come sit. Come sit. What is this? What's this? Everyone knows this. Yeah. Ball. Ball. This is a ball. 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 I'll make a fun game out of it. Then I'll say ball. This has the sound B. Do you know what else starts with the sound B? What else starts with the sound? It's easier for the kids to associate the sound B. So some of the words which they would have heard at home or in their environment that starts with the sound B would be bus. Because even if we are Malayalis, we'll be like, oh, I have to catch a bus today. I'm late for the bus. Oh, I wonder what time the bus is coming today. So bus would be another word that they are familiar with at home. And if they're not, of course, we can introduce it to them in school by either bringing a bus, a small toy bus to school, or we can talk to them about other words that start with B. Bat.
Biscuit.
Bat. Biscuit. Of course, everyone knows biscuit. Sometimes some kids might be like bicket. But it doesn't matter whether it's biscuit or bicket, doesn't matter. What matters is B, because we are trying to start by teaching them the sounds there. So bring out all the toys, all the tools that you have in your classroom that has a sound. So you're helping them develop a phonemic awareness over there, right? Then you can start like bringing out a lot of things that start with B, then other things also like cars and toys and buffalo, like anything. Put it all together in front of them and tell them to pick the toys that starts with B. See how quickly they're able to adapt and inform themselves. Don't do all this on the first day. It should be divided across 2 to 3 days. But first would be that, and the second would be to see how well the children are able to recognize the B sound in the toys. So you should put all this in front of them, and you can say, this is a ball, ball, the bat,
Ball.
bat,
Bat.
the biscuit, biscuit, so on and so forth. And see how well each of the students are able to identify the B sound there. Then eventually after that is done, you can bring out the Montessori sandpaper letters, right? So instead of directly showing them the alphabets, bring it out and let them trace the B, 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 ball, or B for ball and B for bat, B, 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 B. Like kids who listen to Cocomelon and Choo Choo TV, the parents whose kids listen to this will know this tune by heart, right? So use those tools to help the children learn, like B for ball and B for bat, B, 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 and let them trace it on the sandpaper letters by using the phonetic sounds. B, B. And remember one thing, not the uppercase letters, always use the lowercase. Can anyone tell me why we use lowercase when we are talking about the phonetic sounds? When we are teaching children phonics. Okay, just take a book, take your textbook and you open it. is everything written in uppercase, or are 90% or the 80% of the words written in lowercase?
Yeah.
It's in
Yes,
lowercase.
ma'am.
Most of them are in lowercase, unless you have a period in between. It's all in lowercase, right? So that's why we teach them phonic sounds. We teach them to associate the phonic sounds with the lowercase alphabets. So all sandpaper letters should be the lowercase alphabets. And when they're tracing, it should be lowercase as well. Like when they're tracing it in either rice or sand or powder, wherever they're tracing it, it should all be in lowercase. Right. Now, once they are done with that, you can slowly introduce them to the Montessori movable alphabet. You know, where they'll have stacks or a box filled with alphabets in lower cases. Right. And you can just ask them to identify the words according to the sounds that you say. So by this time, you would have introduced them to, let's say, b, a, t, b, a, g, b, a.
There comes the confusion, ma'am. Like
Yes.
we are introducing the uppercase for learning them to identifying them to
Alphabet names.
Okay, so at that time, never use the sound, right?
No, don't use the sound, because then the kids will tend to be confused. Actually, there are different schools of thought, and some schools of thought tell you do not talk to the children about the names of the alphabets at all. Don't.
Because
Right.
that name, say for example, A, they will remind the sound like A. So
yeah,
we
exactly.
are teaching like A, the alphabetical uppercase A is teaching for the first time. And later we are introducing the smaller case to the kid for making the sound. So will it make any confusion with that kid?
Yes, that's right. That's a very good question, which is why a lot of school of thoughts prefer to not introduce them to the alphabet names at all. Because as you grow up, the names of the alphabets are irrelevant in your life. Because a lot of people have realized that what does the knowledge of the names of the alphabets actually contribute to your education or to your ability to read? So a lot of schools have done away with that too. But obviously, you know, I think it's more about, do you know all 26 alphabets? Do you know to identify all 26 alphabets? It's more about that. Okay. So yeah, that again, like I told you, it'll depend upon how you're teaching the children, which books you're following to teach the children. So I would say maybe teach them the alphabet names by using the uppercase, but for phonic sounds, definitely only use the lowercase alphabet, because that's what's being popularly followed and that's worked so far. Right. Okay. So once then, like I told you, third would be to introduce them to the Montessori movable alphabet. So let's say you have introduced to them in the first week and kept repeating these sounds again and again. And these are b, a, and g, and b, a, t. So, you know, those set of words, like I already showed you some sets, you have introduced about 5 or maximum 5. You should only introduce 5 at a time. So we've introduced a collection of 5 words to them. Next would be to introduce them to Montessori movable alphabets. For example, I don't know if you can see, I can't see myself. Let's say, you know, this is what you have introduced to them in the first week. Put the movable, these particular movable alphabets in front of them and ask them, can you make the word pet? Can you make the word pet? The kid might not know what pet means, but you're just trying to get the child to identify the sounds and put that particular word in front of them by just listening. Pet. So the kid would look for p, what alphabet or what letter makes the sound p. They'd find P, they'd find I, and they'd find T. Right? And there's be less room for mistakes because you're not mixing up I or E together, which again, sometimes makes a similar sound. So that way you can move them onto Montessori movable alphabets. And then slowly you will move through the different words and the different sounds that they make. And depending on what age they are, you'll only teach them accordingly. And then eventually you will bring them to words, phrases, and sentences, right? So let's say you want them to start reading by themselves. Okay, let me just see what You are also safe. Okay. So for this, the best tool, once you've already taught them some words and some phonetic alphabets and phonetic words and everything, and you have kind of covered almost all the words, you would want them to slowly start reading, right? And the ideal thing for that would be a flip book. A flip book would be somewhere around the size of our palms, like either a 3x5 or a 5x7. Okay. So in that, you will make a beautiful story. So it can be a story that goes, that has sentences like this. Sam has a dog. And then you can do basically dog's name is Ben, but you want to make sure that it's easy for the child to read and not too intimidating. So dog is Ben or lowercase. Sorry, it should be lowercase. Right? So you can make a story like this, where each sentence has something around words which are about 3 or 4 letters long. And each sentence has only 4 or 5 words max. Basically, it should fit into the flip book. Each of it should fit into the flip book. And it will come accompanied with a picture on top. Okay. So that's how you move from teaching them the sounds, building on it, using the different Montessori tools that you have at your disposal, to eventually reading small sentences which have 3 letters in each word. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Now, the hardest part. How do you get them to read? You have to get the children to read. You have to give them the book and the child should be willing to read the books. Now, that depends upon the teacher, right? Now, one of the biggest rules of Montessori methodology is to make children independent, right?
Almost like it wants to read the sentence you have written.
Hello?
Not clear, ma'am.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not your problem.
So,
Someone unmuted.
Okay.
Yes.
Basically, what you have to do is make sure that the children fall in love with the concept of reading. And how do you do this? That's why we have a reading time in the class. That's why Montessori classrooms are filled with colorful books, picture books.
We have one material like that flashcard, right? We can make use like that by dividing the sound, and where we can ask them to read.
Yeah. That's what that is step 4, where we are using the different tools to ensure that the children are reading using the Montessori tools that we have in our classroom. But the task is to get them to understand, why should we read, right? Why are we reading? This is so hard. I have to put 2-3 words together. Oh my God, this is so hard. And that's why we have the reading time in each and every Montessori classroom. So you'll have a dedicated 1 hour where you have to pick a book, where you make the kids sit all around you and you open the book out for them and you're reading the stories, reading interesting stories about kings, queens, monsters, dogs, and cats. So what are you doing over there? You're showing them that there are stories that they are interested in these books. And when you're reading the books, the children are falling in love with the stories that you're telling them. And they want to hear the stories every day. Of course, in the starting, you won't have their attention. But once you keep doing this reading out of books, they will slowly form the connection. Oh, I love stories. I love it when my teacher reads these stories to me. And I want to hear it. And how is she doing it? She's doing it by using this book, by reading it. And then the child over there will have that desire to hear the stories. and slowly they will want to do it themselves. So after you read these stories to them, let them explore the book, let them look at the words. Of course, nothing will make sense to them, but they're going to sit there. They're going to look at the words that from where the stories actually came. Eventually that, that urge to be independent in the child will slowly drive them to want to read. One of the biggest
Can we introduce the activity books like Appleby and Kalikuduka like that?
Exactly. Magic Pot is an amazing tool for children.
So there will be more interest in than the stories, right? I think so.
Yeah. Because the thing is, they have to read things. And one thing you should realize is the biggest impediment to a child learning to read is very distracting visual modes that are in front of them, which would be television, mobile phones, iPads, etc. I'm not saying like completely cut it out of their lives, but children read to, not feel bored, to entertain themselves. And when you're giving them easy alternatives like your iPad or a phone or a YouTube and cartoons, they will not have the desire to read because the entertainment, they need to stay focused on the need to put their attention into something is already taken care of in a very easy way. So if you want them to get interested in learning to read and write, we should provide them with alternatives and try to slowly cut out the screen time that they have and show them that, books are magical. Book is what is going to provide you with that entertainment for that, to fill in the urge to not be bored. So as teachers and sometimes as parents, that's what we should do. We should, sit with the children, read them these storybooks, make big gestures, try to bring the characters in the books to life, try to bring Supandi to life. If children will play, fun in the comic things that of, Supandi and that tiger hunting guy is there in Tinkle, I forgot his name. Shikari Shambhu. So when you're doing these stories, when you're introducing new stories every day with puppets, with tools like that, children will start falling in love with books and start falling in love with stories and reading and writing, and eventually they will want to do it. Okay, so that's why having a dedicated reading or book reading time during your classrooms session is very important. And we should try to do this on a daily basis so that it becomes habitual to them, that reading becomes a part of their habit. And even if they come back from school for mothers of small kids, try to do it. There are parents who introduce reading as young as 6 months, not because the child understands anything that they're saying, but for them to just get used to a tool such as a book and the words which are written there. Okay.
Yeah, bedtime stories. There are so many books for bedtime.
Exactly. It's a very good way to wind children down. Like reading them books when they're about to go to sleep will put them, is definitely very beneficial for them. And also these kind of tools. I don't think these are school things that are in school, but at home, introducing them to things like this. This is it's a puzzle. Now the child won't care about what is written here. What they're going to try, when you put this in front of them, they know this is something that will fit into each other. Right. They'll try to fix this. But as they grow up and as you introduce this to them more and more, you can slowly start piecing this together as well in their phonic way. So tools such as this can be used in schools also, again, depending upon which school it is. But at homes, you can definitely use this to create an idea about phonemic awareness. This is an egg. Every child knows this is an egg. They'll be curious about what is this character which is written underneath. So that way, phonemic awareness is built over there. All right. So yes, I'd like to end the class by saying, books are your friends as teacher and as a mother, as a parent. Books are always going to be your friend. So try to encourage the child to fall in love with books. And then teaching them phonics or encouraging them to read and write will get much easier over time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Wow, ma'am. Wow, super. Very nice, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Very nice.
Thank you,
Then
Dhanasree
Prima,
ma'am.
will you please sing like A, B, C, A to Z, please sing.
That's very hard. Even I don't know. According to the phonic sounds, no. I would prefer to use the songs that I've heard on YouTube, like Choo Choo TV and Coco Melon, like A for app, A for and that's my preference. I can't go from A to Z by just going phonic, because that would actually make you have to stop and think what is next. ABCD is muscle memory. The song is muscle memory. We have said it so many times. It's been a part of our life for so long that it comes even in our sleep. If someone were to put a gun to my head in my sleep and say, sing ABCD, I'd sing it. But phonic, you'd need to stop and think and take a break and then have the sound set. So it's hard.
Yeah.
One last question can I ask you? Do we know to follow any particular accent, like so many different accents for different accents for different words, or sometimes same words like finance and finance, director and director, both are right?
It's absolutely irrelevant. Even if you were to go to Britain, or if you were to go to US, the different places, they have completely different accents. Sometimes the people in US from West Coast to East Coast might not even understand what each other are saying because of the difference in the accent.
So if we are searching a word in Google and they are showing some phonics with that voice, under that word, they are showing their pronunciation. Can we follow that pronunciation at the?
Yeah, of course, because that is a standard. That is a standard according to Merriam-Webster dictionary. That is a standard way in which it is to be pronounced. But again, there's no set rule, because like you said, some people say director, some people say director, some people say direct, some people say direct.
No, if we go out with our accent, it will be difficult for them to understand, right? What we are communicating with them, because the difference of the accent is there, right? Of course, the Malayalis will be inputting our Malayalam accent in the English words, like parrot. We are not supposed to see parrot. We always see parrot. The pa influence will be there. So the accent will be very difficult for the other people to understand. So the communication will be difficult. That is why I'm asking regarding the accent or the pronunciation.
So yes, the accents that we inherently have will become an impediment, but it's something that will not put a stop to your life completely. If I were to say parrot, or if I were to say, I'm going to eat food, the other person understands what I'm saying, because the rest of this, there are other words in the sentence which will kind of help you understand what I'm saying. You can also kind of think, oh, is she about to eat a leg? Because foot, so close to this thing, right? If I'm saying foot, and if I'm saying food instead of food. But Jina ma'am will understand that I'm referring to, I'm about to go and eat.
Yes.
Right. So we better not to think too much about accent, because your accent will keep changing. Like if I were to go to a group of North Indians and I were to start talking to them, suddenly I'll have a Bombay slang. My English won't be like this. It won't be neutral. Suddenly I'll be like, ha, yaar, I know, yaar. Yes, it is totally correct.
Okay, the influence will come to our accent, right?
Yeah,
the
that
influence will be there in our.
Yeah, so that's the thing, it's about what we are hearing and our need to also be a part of that group. So sometimes that kind of will take care of how you're talking in a group.
So if we teach a kid what accent we have to follow, like that is a major thing again.
That's completely up to you. Follow an accent that makes you feel confident in front of children, because for them, when they're in your presence, they don't care about the accent. What they care is whether they feel comfortable with you and whether you are comfortable with them. So don't think too much about it.
If we introduce them egg, we have to keep that g sound there, not egg, right?
Not egg, g.
Yeah,
egg.
That is what I am asking.
Yeah. So for that, we need to practice. We need to either watch a lot of videos, or nowadays there are a lot of tools, because we won't be introducing it to them in sentences like how we are talking right now. That's not how we are going to introduce it to them. We'll be introducing dog, right? When we're saying just the word, it's easier for us to get it correctly because we are conscious over there. kids, this is a dog. But when I'm talking to someone, I might just say, yeah, the dog is there, man. The dog, it's sitting there. I might say that because, that's how I'm more comfortable when I'm talking to someone. But when we're teaching children, we are more conscious about the words that we are using. So use that part when you're teaching. Tell them, this is a dog. Okay, so it will kick in, I think.
Yes, ma'am. That's thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Wow.
Okay. Thank you, Dhanasree ma'am. Thank you so much. It's really informative and a wonderful class also. And we all are appreciate you, ma'am, for your great effort for this class. And I hope you all are understand this topic very clearly. And again, thank you so much, Dhanasree ma'am. And I would like to invite Jency ma'am for vote of thanks.
Okay. Very good morning to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank our evaluator, Bindu Saraswati ma'am, and Bindu Jacob ma'am, our faculty. Then our Sana ma'am. Thank you for being here. Then, first of all, I would like to thank our anchor, Induleka ma'am. Then prayer by Sumudha ma'am, and welcome speech by Reshma ma'am. Thank you, both of you. Then today's class was a webinar about phonetics. Dhanasree ma'am was the faculty for us today. She is one of us. And thank you, Dhanasree ma'am, for your great instruction class for us. The class was very interesting and more informative for us. Thank you, Dhanasree ma'am. And now I am going to thank one of all presented here, my class members, and all members joined to this class live. Thanks all of you.
Wow,
Wow,
super.
super, ma'am. Super. Very nice.
Thank you, Jency ma'am. And thank you everyone for joining this live section for today webinar. And thank you all.